have signed up and bought tickets because they want to get inspired.
So all great minds on Matthias.
Yeah, we have everyone from Nordic Fintech.
We're also going to be talking about ethical finance here.
We see that we have top-tier retention.
What's going on in the ESG, what's going on in sustainability, what's happening, what have we learned from open banking, and how can we expand that to the rest of the financial services industry?
I want to learn something. I want to form new relations.
I think the Nordics have the benefit
When it comes to scaling to new markets,
So you look at that kind of sense only in Asia. Is this new thinking about software development?
we're seeing amazing lifetime.
Is this company interesting out of an commercial perspective? Beyond million euros of revenue.
And when you are facing a decision, make sure to move fast. Because we always need to be moving forward, upward, somewhere.
So when you get back, just press the button.
They're about solving real community challenges and making lives better.
And why is it they have chosen reality? What?
We saw this firsthand and wanted to make a change.
Good morning, everyone.
Make this evolution.
The entire crypto blockchain world is burning, yet these guys...
We have waiting lists in 72 countries.
They are not just about business.
Hello, Chris. So welcome everyone to this exclusive launch event of Copenhagen Fintech Week. And if everyone is a little bit confused here, I can say it's not 23, it's not 24. It is actually, you are landed in the right year. It is actually the launch event for Nordic Fintech Week 25. My name is Thomas Krogh. I'm the CEO of Copenhagen Fintech, and I've been really looking forward. And we were joking today when we were talking about the launch event that this felt like the launch of the iPhone back in the days. Maybe not entirely, but at least for us, it felt like it was a big event. So welcome to all of you here in the studio at SpeakerBee. Huge shout out to SpeakerBee for these amazing surroundings and the technical setup. Not to mention. And of course, all of you out there online listening in and learning a little bit about what the amazing event Nordic Fintech Week 2025 is all about. I'm going to be your stage host for today. And just to flip through the agenda so you know what awaits before we go to the networking part later on. So we will be talking a little bit about Nordic Fintech Week 2025, the what and the why. I think most of you have come across Nordic Fintech Week in some capacity. This is a little bit more zooming in at what is it actually we are trying to build here with this conference, and why are we doing it? Then, because we and some of you might have seen that we have been out and talking a little bit about what is this year's theme about. But this is very well aligned with one of our speakers that was actually joining us back in 2019, I think, Chris Colbert. And I will be doing an interview with Chris because in the meantime, Chris have been authoring a book called Technology is Dead. So we are very curious to have a conversation with Chris about what is this about. And Chris is also involved in FinTech Americas, but that's another story. He can tell you a little bit more about that. Then, as some might have seen, we have also partnered up with GFTN, which is the Global Financial and Technology Network. So also very happy to welcome Matthias Kröner, that you will meet here on stage also and learn a little bit about what is GFTN actually about, and also how will we work together with the GFTN network. Then we thought it would be appropriate to introduce you also to a case, just to say what is it actually, what's the difference, why is this so much more than just a conference? So we invited one of, and now I say our startup, of course it's not ours, it's Lorenz's and some of his colleagues, but we feel almost part of it because Lorenz was one of the startups that's been residing with us in Copenhagen Fintech out in the lab, and a very exciting story about his journey and also how and what he got out of the Nordic Fintech Week. Then you will be meeting my dear colleague Laura, that's gonna take you through a little bit the opportunities around how you can engage with the community, the Nordic community, around the Nordic Fintech Week, and also Jakob from SpeakerBee about some of the amazing opportunities that you will also be introduced, at least you guys in the room here will be introduced to afterwards when it comes to media opportunities. And then, of course, what is also about networking and drinks. We will be joined in probably a few minutes. We will be joined with a bigger crowd from the FinTech Lab because we also, right now, we were launching our incubation program at the lab. So we started up some new startups this morning in our incubation program. And at the same time, we also launched the next cohort of the new Nordic Challengers, which is our Nordic acceleration program. And it's actually these days our selection days in the lab. So they will also be joining us in the true spirit of Nordic Fintech Week and networking, collaboration, and engaging the ecosystem. All right, let me move on and talk a little bit about the what and the why. Just a little bit of numbers to get you kind of into the spirit of Nordic Fintech Week. 2,000 plus attendees last year in 2024 during the week, which was, and I think many has the conception, the knowledge of Nordic Fintech Week being the 2 days at Tab 1. It's actually so much more. It's also the research symposium, it's the side events, it's what's going on in Copenhagen for the whole week and engaging the Nordic ecosystem. So 2,000 plus attendees. Oh, I'll just go back here. Go back, now I'm going forward. Let me just, is anyone else? Thank you so much. 225 speakers, and I know that for a fact, 225 speakers exactly, because I probably wrote 224 of them last year. So I was very much involved with every single one of them. So 225 speakers from all corners of the world. And that's also a very important thing for us, that it's showcasing the Nordics to the world, but it's also bringing the world to the Nordics. 100 plus sessions divided on these 3 different stages and all the different side events that were going on last year. We actually did a test, so we actually also asked people, would you recommend? And the Net Promoter Score was 72, which is extremely high compared to many others. 45 countries, people from more than 45 countries was involved in 2024. And we had more than 30 side events. So it is big enough to matter, but small enough to actually do efficient networking and business connections. And you will see that during the presentations today. You can see some of our amazing partners in 2024 lined up here. So happy that all of these guys chose to support the event and the community last year. And as our friends from Infuse also says here, Denise, this is why events like Nordic Fintech Week are so important, because businesses is still done by humans. And we'll get back to this because this is a little bit a topic that we will touch upon and also a major theme for 2025. Humans that are fostering relationships and trust, that technology not alone can replicate, but we'll get back to that. So, also speaking a little bit on, why do we actually allow ourselves to take that claim that the Nordics is special, and when it comes to innovation and growth and the impact, Nordic companies have actually made a huge difference. If you look at, and this is the latest survey that is mentioning some of the countries that are in the forefront in Europe when it comes to fintech innovation, you can see Sweden, Denmark, and Finland ranking in the top 10. So we had all started back in 2017. It actually all started as a barbecue on the side of the canal in the inner part of Copenhagen. Small barbecue as a side event to Money 2020. As you know, Money 2020 moved on to Amsterdam, and we decided that Copenhagen and the Nordics need a major event. And that's why we set out for this ambition to build the biggest and the most ambitious combined finance and fintech event in the Nordics. So it started back in 2017, started out as first Copenhagen, and now we embraced the Nordics and created the Nordic Fintech Week that will now be running for the third year in a row. So what we want to do is showcase, of course, Nordic innovation and showcase that to a global audience. And we can say with 45 nations plus and counting, we are very much on the way to do that. The vision and ambition of the Nordic Fintech Week is first and foremost like Copenhagen Fintech that it grew out of. And our roots and our DNA is our community. Our community of startups, of incumbent banks, of investors, regulators, and the community that is not only anchored in the Nordics, but is very much also a global thing. A platform for startups and investor and banks to meet. I think you will see, and when you hear from Lorenz, it's a very good example also for what it can do, especially to early stage founders also. A truly global outlook that, Nordics can be a little bit, should we say, we look at the world from our point of geography and a little bit self-centered. What we want to do here is actually bring those crucial insights and knowledge from the world into the Nordics and facilitate, as I said, insights, knowledge, and spark these conversations that hopefully foster innovation and new partnerships and business. So use the Nordic Fintech Week as a platform and very much a gateway for the global fintech community to engage with the Nordic ecosystem. So this is the vision and ambition and the aim of what we're trying to create here. This is one of our newest partners that we are very proud of. Kim from Gensi, Director of Growth and New Services, and I think Kim puts it very eloquently and very proud of what Kim is also saying here, that the Nordic Fintech Week is one-of-a-kind platform that brings together visionary fintech players from the Nordics and beyond. As a Nordic insurance company, we are proud to participate in an event focused on innovation, collaboration, and solutions that empower both businesses and society. And that is the essence of what we're trying to do here. Something that is hopefully bigger and better than just a conference and Copenhagen Fintech, and that spreads much beyond just us. So much in the spirit of also spreading out knowledge and insights, and also using the community. I can see people already. Oh, there's a QR code. I need to scan. Very nice. Those of you that are online, please, you can find a link in the chat. Those of you in the room here, please scan the QR code. We're going to have some questions to tap into the collective brain knowledge and insights in this room and online. And then we're going to ask you a few questions. The first question being, what do you believe is the most critical area for innovation in fintech in 2025? And there might be a little lag in the response when you do the polling or you answer the questions, but it should be on screen at some point. And I'm just checking my time here, so we don't go too much over time, but we're doing fine. Yeah. And people are, yes. So what do you believe is the most critical area for innovation in FinTech 2025? Mind you, there's only one, there's no right or wrong, but you're only allowed to choose one. That forces you to prioritize a bit. So it looks like AI and ethical consideration in financial services is taking the lead, with a future of payments and digital banking. That's an evergreen, right? That's an evergreen. But AI, not surprisingly maybe to some, but especially also the last one, ethical consideration in financial services, is actually very high up. It's a clear, okay, we got a clear answer here. AI and ethical consideration. Let's move on to the second question here. How do you think FinTech can most effectively drive sustainability and social impact? And again, there's 5. We allowed ourselves to give you 5 different alternatives. And I can see your and please, for you in the back here in the room, please come sit down, find a seat and sit down. Hope many of you will give your opinions here. Okay, that's exciting. We have 2 equally. So how do you think FinTech can most effectively drive sustainability and social impact? Promoting financial inclusion for underserved communities. Interesting. Enhancing financial literacy and education. Okay, now we just changed a bit here. So that's a little bit more divided. That's good. Still promoting financial inclusion for underserved communities. A little bit surprising for me, actually. I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm a little bit surprised. It's not the Nordics, and to be honest, most here, I think, is from the Nordics. And we don't have that many underserved communities, so it's really interesting. And now it changed a bit. Enhancing financial literacy and education. All right, yeah. Cool, I think we can move on to the third one here. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing FinTech innovation today? It's an interesting one. Again, 5 different alternatives. Let's see where that takes us. Navigating the regulatory frameworks and governance. Quite some bankers in the room. What else here? Ensuring data privacy and security. So that's a pretty, there's 2. Achieving transparency and consumer trust. All right. And another one here, balancing rapid growth with long-term sustainability. But still, I think we have a clear winner. Navigating regulatory frameworks and governance. It's fair to say that's a clear winner. 2 seconds more, and then I think we move on to the 4th one. Yeah. Navigating regulatory frameworks and governance. Okay, let's take the next one. Which technology trend will have the greatest impact on financial services in the next 5 years? So this will give you an indication on where to place your pension savings. And please don't take this as an advice. All right. Some would maybe say it's not that surprising. artificial intelligence and machine learning. Second, blockchain and digital currencies. Quantum computing applications. Not many betting on the human-centered design for fintech solutions. All right, Chris, we can talk about that a little bit later if you're listening in. Okay, so there's I think we can agree that again we have a pretty clear winner here: artificial intelligence and machine learning as the technology that will have the greatest impact within the next 5 years. Okay, let's move on to the last one. How should the fintech industry prioritize its efforts to benefit individuals and businesses? 5 alternatives, 1 option to choose. SMEs off for a good start, but then transforming customer experiences with personalized services, maybe probably tying into some of the previous answers of AI and data and privacy and that kind of stuff. Let's see. All right. Thank you so much. We're gonna use these to create a little report that we're gonna publish based on your answers here. So look out for that the coming days. Of course, you will be the first to receive the results that you contributed with here. And this is very much tying into what we want to do with this platform also. We launched the Nordic Fintech report last year for the first time, mapping out the entire Nordic ecosystem and giving you a lot of insights and numbers into the ecosystem here. Among those, I didn't bring that here, but among those, that the #1 unicorn factory in the Nordics, unicorn producing factory in the Nordics when it comes to fintech is actually Nordea. Jakob, I think you're around here somewhere, right? You're there, yes. So if you want to build a fintech unicorn, you have to go to Nordea. I'm not sure that's the full conclusion, but let's just keep it there. All right. So the Nordic Fintech report, full of a lot of insights, and of course we will be doing that again for 2025. We will also be, and they are also in the room here, as I said, we have selection days for our joint program together with Tenity here in Copenhagen. So some of the guys that just joined us here and are standing in the back are actually companies participating in the selection days and also participating in the Nordic Fintech Week. And of course, we have the Nordic Fintech Awards, which is very much around trying to map out the entire Nordic Fintech ecosystem, and with an awesome group of judges trying to pick, and it is hard, but trying to pick some of the winners in each category. And I think when you look at some of the previous winners here, you will see unicorns, you will see fast-growing Nordic fintech companies. So when it comes to this here, if you were able to bet your money on it, that would actually be some of the companies that would probably be good to invest in when you see who's winning through the years. All right. When it comes to, and I think that takes us also closer to the conversation that I'm taking with Chris here in a few minutes. We had a discussion around what to do this year. You know, we did last year. We focused very much on AI. Every conversation at the Nordic Fintech Week almost was about how AI is going to be a game changer for financial services. And you know, when everyone goes left, then it's interesting to see how do we then go right. And I'm not saying we are taking a radically different approach, but we, for 2025, want to zoom in a little bit more on the human side of tech and a little bit more on how do we make sure that this amazing progress of AI, first and foremost, you saw that, you answered it yourself, that you believe that is gonna be a game changer for the industry, or whether it's blockchain technology, quantum, or whatever. How do we ensure that that in combination with finance is actually being done in a way where it accelerates, enhances, and fuels humans and society for good? So that will be kind of the underlying music, that will be the theme that we will be zooming in on when it comes to the Nordic Fintech Week in 2025. Also because it's very much aligned with at least how we perceive the Nordics and the human-centered approach, what we are known for in the Nordics. So that is going to be the thing that goes through the red thread in many of the discussions, the presentations, and whatever we will be doing in 2025 for the Nordic Fintech Week. And that is exactly why we were also super happy to have Chris saying yes to joining us for a short but hopefully thought-provoking conversation around what does he actually mean when he says technology is dead. For some of you, you might have been lucky to have met Chris when he was at the Copenhagen Fintech Week back in 2019. An amazing, knowledgeable, insightful person that comes with a lot of opinions, luckily, on technology and how we live our lives. Now an operating partner at Digital Fuel Capital, also strategic advisor and speaker on innovation, and previously managing director at Harvard Innovation Lab. I was fortunate enough to meet Chris, I think, back in the days at Singapore Fintech Festival. Welcome, Chris. Are you with us?
Hi, Thomas.
Chris, were you listening in a bit when we did our polling and some of the answers here?
I heard every word.
Okay. Good. And I know I just wanted to ask you as a first question, any reflections when you saw and listened into how the room voted on some of the topics here?
I think well, firstly, I admire Nordic values. I think your part of the world probably is more enlightened about how we as a species should be operating and how we should be prioritizing our actions and behaviors compared to other parts of the world. I think the one that stuck out for me was how human-centered design ranked fairly low in terms of a priority area for focus, for fintech focus, and fintech innovation focus. Because, you know, the irony for me about that is, and really part of the impetus for ultimately writing the book, Technology is Dead, was my time at Harvard overseeing the Innovation Lab, which is an incubator for Harvard student and Harvard alumni startups, and realizing that the 90+% of those startups failed, seeing them fail, hundreds of startups every year. And then more broadly in the world, most startups fail, you know, and then the question is, well, why is it that they fail? And the reason why they fail isn't the inability to create the innovation, it's the inability to get adoption of the innovation, which is a human issue. If you can't get the human to adopt what it is you've created, then you have not created it in a way that meets the human where they are, that solves a truly human and meaningful problem. And therefore, I deduce that human-centered design, or more pointedly, human understanding, is the foundation capacity to achieve success, not just in fintech innovation, in any form of innovation. But we choose as a species to ignore that and jump to the shiny objects of AI and quantum computing and blockchain, believing that the technologies in and of themselves will solve the human problem. 90% of the time, they do not. And
So is
even
that-
in the cases where they solve the problem, they create unintended problems. And that also is a problem.
So is that when, and I don't remember if it's on your website or it's maybe on the back cover of your book, Chris, that I read, that you write that our first of all, you call your book "Technology is Dead," which is certainly a statement, and then you say our relationship with technology is fundamentally broken. What do you mean with that? What are you trying to tell us here?
Well, the reason for the title of the book is an attempt to, and I explain this in the introduction, that I think technology has reached a point of ubiquity in our lives where it actually feels like it is part of us, and it has insinuated itself into every nook and cranny of what we do, pretty much 24/7. And there's some real benefits to that, but I think there's some real issues with that. And I think any of us who are parents of young children feel those issues on a daily basis. But the point is, it's an inanimate proposition. It's a tool, and it is not in us. It is outside of us, and we need to recognize that relationship. And most importantly, we need to decide how we want to use that tool to both realize its full potential while mitigating its unintended consequences. A metaphor I use in the book is the idea of technology as a ever accelerating train, a bullet train, going faster and faster and faster. And the real issue we have as a society is we are not in the locomotive. Humans are in the caboose. We are in the back of the train. We are not guiding the train. We are not steering the train. We are not determining its ultimate destination. The train is on its own. And I think ultimately that's the greatest existential threat we have, which is not to say I'm anti-technology. It's just I am pro-humanity. And humanity needs to find its way into the locomotive of that train.
And let's just stick with, because now I'm picking up on your on your illustration with the train. So I'm wondering, because if you look at who's actually steering the train, and you used it as and said it's technology, but if you look at who is then laying the rails or controlling the infrastructure, and I think you're talking to a bunch of Europeans and Nordic people here, right? Primarily, at least in the room. And when you look at who is building and owning the cloud, who is building and owning the technologies that we now are using, especially when it comes to AI, that's the Americans. And and I'm a little bit, your reflections on that, speaking to a group of, again, coming back to primarily, there's a lot of different people dialing in online, but in the room here, Europeans and Nordic people, should we be afraid?
Yes. I mean, I think the entire world should be afraid. And when you say Americans, I think the more alarming thing, Thomas, is it's actually not our government. It's the creators of the technology itself who are reaping the benefit of the commercial benefit of unleashing this force, this creature. So, I mean, the terrible truth is the people in the locomotive of the train are the techno utopian, the Elon Musk of the world, who really believe that technology will solve every problem. Like any unintended consequence it is creating, it will solve that problem. And I don't fundamentally believe that is true. I do not.
So, okay. So given, let's just say that for the sake of argument that it is really a problem, and we need to do something differently, and especially zooming in a little bit on financial services, because it's so fundamental in our lives. And what do we need to do different, Chris? You know, you point out the challenges and the problems, but what should we as innovators, technologists, bankers, startups, you know, what should we do different?
Yeah, I think there's a systems answer to the question, and then there's a more on the ground human answer to the question. I think the systems answer to the question is, like, everything is a system. You know, a family is a system, a company is a system, a city is a system, a country is a system. The human species and the way we interoperate is a system. And we for a system to be effective, we need to be really clear on what the intention of the system is, call it the output of the system. And I don't believe we as a species have agreement on what the intention of the system is outside of gross domestic product, outside of economic gain, outside of productivity. And I think that's the beginning of the problem. You know, if the sole intention of the system and the sole intention of fintech innovation is to enable economic gain or growth at a country or company level, there's plenty of research and plenty of data that shows that not everybody benefits from that. In fact, it stratifies society, and you end up with the haves and the have-nots, and in a really extreme form. And you look at, and by the way, I'm not anti-capitalist either. I'm just like I'm not anti-technology, I'm not anti-capitalism, but I believe there's a balanced approach to this. And so the first thing that I argue for in the book is an embrace of the intention of the system at any level, not being simply about economic growth or GDP, but actually being about well-being. And I think, again, the Nordic countries have a better grasp on this than maybe any other part of the world. That the collective well-being of our species is what this is all about in every form, physical and mental and spiritual, you know, the ability to pay their bills, whatever, that should be the intention of the system, not simply, revenue for revenue's sake. That's at a system level. At a human level, the thing we can do is care more and study more and better understand the other, whether the other is a customer, the other is a partner, the other is a child, the other is the neighbor, the other is a stranger. We have, in the US, there's all this stuff being published right now, including comments by our Surgeon General, about the loneliness epidemic in America, which is a way of saying technology has accidentally enabled us to disconnect from each other, caused us to do that. And when we don't know the other, when we don't even know ourselves anymore, when we don't know our child, you have to ask yourself the question, well, A, is that contributing to well-being? Of course not. And B, isn't knowing the other and knowing thyself fundamental to being human? And so my thing, you know, is, okay, the system's solution to this is really, really complicated and maybe actually impossible. But what is not impossible is the ability to take more time to listen to the other, to ask questions about the other, to get closer to the other, to better understand the other, to inform the quality of your relationship, the quality of your innovation, the quality of your company. You know, everything can be made better if we simply work harder to understand the other.
Thank you so much, Chris. I could talk to you for hours about this subject, and I think it's super interesting. Luckily, you will be joining us as a speaker in person. So next time we will be seeing you in Copenhagen in September, where we hopefully will have time to take even deeper dives into this topic together with you. So thank you so much for taking your time and spending it a bit with us here. And was that a sign that you have a last thing to say?
Yeah, I just wanted two compliments. One is just congratulations to you and your team and the entire Nordic Fintech ecosystem for what you've accomplished over the last 5 years. I was with you in 2019, and it was amazing. But how you've grown is really incredible. And then secondly, I really commend you for the 2025 theme. I mean, at the end, whatever the end is, we will be proven right. That the historians of the future will write about the need for humanity to reconnect to humanity, the need to focus less on the technologies and more on the consequences of technologies in terms of how we behave, particularly with each other. And so I want to congratulate you and everybody for having the courage and the vision to go down this path.
Thank you so much, Chris. Have a very nice day in Boston, if that's where you are now. I believe it is, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Have a very nice day. Thank you for joining us. Should we give Chris a hand?
We'll see you in September.
Thank you. And again, for those of you attending in September, you will be able to connect with Chris, hopefully, and we can take this conversation even further. It's a fascinating topic. So, and we will be we're doing like slightly 3-4 minutes over time, but I think that's okay. So we will move on, and as I said in my introduction, we have been so fortunate to build quite both a network, a community, and a relationship in Singapore, and out of that grew also our partnership of our partnership with GFTN, Global Financial and Technology Network. That and we're so lucky also to have the European CEO of GFTN with us today in person here, Matthias Kröner, founder, and join me on stage here, Matthias, and you get this for your slides.
That's really a horrible photo.
It is. But
you have to.
But you're looking sharp.
No, so much not.
Okay. I'll leave the stage to you now.
No, thank you so much, Thomas. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you for having us. It's a great pleasure to be here in Copenhagen with our friends of Nordic Fintech, and it's always so exciting to be here. So refreshing, actually. And to all of you, still all the best for 2025. Have a happy new year, right? So let's get rid of this. Coming here today, now this is January 2025, for me personally is something like a almost 15-year journey to stand here, speak for GFTN. What is GFTN? We will speak about it in a second. But it's a longer journey, and maybe this is also a good intro to explain you why I'm speaking for GFTN here and now today. I double-checked it. In April 2016, you had you hosted in Copenhagen, Money 2020. Some of you still at uni, some not. And it was then when I first met Swapnando Mohanty, who is our group GFTN CEO, and Swapnando Mohanty got connected with me via our ecosystem and said, listen, Matthias, you are the founder of Fidor Bank, and this explains my background. So I'm the founder of Fidor Bank, which was the kind of first fintech bank in Europe. We opened our digital doors in 2010, I think that was, right? 2010. So, and he said, you're the founder of the oldest fintech bank. Can't you help us to set up Singapore Fintech Festival? And Singapore Fintech Festival happened the first time in November 2016 in Singapore. And I, having this kind of weakness of saying no, said yes. Okay. And he said, okay, if you say yes now, next week we're going to meet in New York, actually, because we make an open, kind of an inauguration thing in New York with big names and so on. I said, let me first talk to my wife, making sure I'm not getting divorced in between landing in Munich, divorce, flying to New York. So, and I was in New York then, joining the team of, later team of Singapore Fintech Festival. And this is why I finally came from Copenhagen and end up to be in Copenhagen here and now. Isn't that funny? Closing the circle. So again, it's a great opportunity to be here and a big pleasure to me. So let us speak about GFTN. What is GFTN about? Make it easy. Global Finance Technology Network. So it is about global, and it is about network, which means together, and global means everywhere, not only in one country, not only in one region, not only in Singapore, not only in Europe, but everywhere. And it's about finance and technology. We came from the phrase fintech, and we changed it actually into finance and technology, because we've got the feeling that fintech itself is maybe kind of small, creating a smaller focus. And we wanted to open it up, in particular, given the fact of all these big tech developments that we have, like blockchain, like AI, like cloud, like quantum. This is big, right? So this is why we opened it up in finance and technology. And in particular also, given the fact that in countries like Germany, and you did not see Germany on the list, by the way, of these top 10 innovation hubs, right, in Europe, which are found to be actually very depressing. Nevertheless, I'm from Munich, so I'm Bavarian, right? So you did not find Germany in it. And in Germany, we have a slightly negative connotation of fintech in the meantime. Why? Because many fintechs did not succeed. Many of them did not grow to the size we expect them to grow. It's not really successful, and incumbent banks more or less like talk it negative. Okay, so this is why another reason why we overcome this fintech as a term. Now, powering global ecosystem and transforming digital economy. This is a bit of the mission statement of GFTN. Pretty broad. Let us break it down. What does that mean? So first of all, I kind of play a Q&A here, right? So this is first of all, why global? Isn't it enough if we do it locally? No, it's definitely not enough, because all the challenges we are facing are actually global. The real challenges are global. There's not there is not, for instance, just take climate catastrophe. I refuse, by the way, to say climate change. No, it's a climate catastrophe. Just look to LA currently. There's climate change will not, and catastrophe will definitely not take care of us as a regional initiative. It must be, as hard as it will be in future, it must be a global initiative, as well as technological challenges, opportunities, or threats like AI, what's coming up there, in combination with geopolitics, in combination with populism and anti-democratic developments there. Just yesterday, I think it was, when the US announced that actually, and this is a geopolitical move hitting us on the AI sector, that they will export control the AI chips. Germany is on the list of strategic partners to the US. We will get some, others are not. So what to do? And just think about it. Thomas mentioned it. Cloud comes from the US. AI comes from the US. Just imagine your life, for whatever irrational sanction scheme, for whatever funny reason, in particular, maybe you do not give Greenland for free, so you get sanctioned. Yeah, because I have to make it great again. Just imagine that. And next day you have no cloud, no AI anymore. Just imagine your real life here and now without those tools. Just imagine banking without US-based services. Impossible. Stone Age, right? So this is definitely why we have to take care of that on a global level. How would a network support me? It's more like a mail question, right? No, the network is obviously needed. I found that illustration, you never walk alone, and I really love it. And I can give it, and this is why I mentioned my bank founding story. Those days, back in 2010, we had nobody to speak to when we came up with the idea that we set up a community-centric, technology-based, rule-breaking, nevertheless regulated consumer service bank. 2010, whom to speak to? Nobody out there. The only one I could speak to was Bundesbank, or the German regulator, and And I came up with my concept and I said, I want to found that bank. And then, because that was the second bank our team founded, then they said, you again. I said, yeah, that's about us, right? Because we created in the mid-90s, we created the first discount broker in Europe as a subsidiary to Hypobank, which then became Hypovereinsbank, which now is a UniCredit Bank, which now is taking over Commerzbank, you know. And they said, you again. And then we had conversations like, yeah, you want to make that web-based? And I said, yeah, of course, sure. And then they say, yeah, do you think the web is here to stay? That was 2010, okay? We had a chancellor only some years later saying that the internet is a new territory for all of us. Still for the German government it is, right? So to whom to speak to? So this is exactly why why I'm personally convinced that it makes so much sense to have somebody, a sounding board, maybe a frustration exchange, to say, okay, this is the problem we are facing. This is the challenge we are facing. Would you have a solution for this? What is your idea on this? Hey, regulator, can I talk to you? Is this something I'm allowed to do? Regulation, of course, is defining all our lives. And it's good that this is the case, right? So this is why GFTN brings together 3 stakeholder groups. Actually, it's the regulator and the central banks. It is the financial services expert, financial industry expert, and it's the technology expert. These are the 3 stakeholder groups we are bringing together in our community, in our events and initiatives. Now, why is this all relevant for Europe? That's a frequent discussion we have also with our Singaporean friends. Whenever, you know, GFTN is operating, you have to see GFTN is operating in more or less like all regions of this planet. We are now in March having actually our Japan FinTech Week in Tokyo. We have in February, there is a FinTech event in Rwanda, Africa. May last year, we had another one in Ghana. Singapore FinTech Festival as our flagship, of course, is in November in Asia. There are cooperations in Latin America. Now, why is that relevant for Europe? We Europeans, all of us, have to wake up, and because we will wake up in between the blocks. This is now what is happening. We are facing, and this is really what is concerning me, absolutely, we are facing the perfect storm. And black swan will be an animal we will meet every day. I'm absolutely convinced of this. I'm absolutely convinced of this. I'm not have any hope for optimism to be as frustrating as this. So let's go have a beer. No, but I would say how to overcome that. Yeah, first of all, you can overcome it once you realize in what situation you are. I think this is the very first step. You know, this is a kind of self-reflection we have to do now. And again, as mentioned, these are, you can see, and willingly, the same points like in the global threats. These are now hitting us left, right, and center. And I added 1 point, social media, for the very last week developments. I find social media developments to be extremely frightening because they will hit us in the heart of our democratic understanding. They will deliver us as the victim to populism on the silver tablet. And this is exactly what we have to kind of understand. As said, no technical solution without US supply. There is no German or European or Danish digital public infrastructure as we would need it to be self-sustainable. And this is what is really, really scaring me. And definitely one of the mission statements for this year, not only, hopefully, maybe only this year, is that we create this sense of urgency into all our communities and say, listen, we have to wake up on this. Not only let us talk about it, let us act on it. So there are some examples, I'm sure we will share the slides then, but it's one of the European structural challenges, for instance, fragmented, and let me only speak about that, fragmented regulation. You know, whenever we, and Thomas mentioned unicorns. So what is the biggest challenge for a startup in Europe? It's gaining traction in a very much larger scale to compete with global peers. It is almost impossible for a European company to do this, in particular once you're regulated. erase almost. It's absolutely impossible to do this. You cannot gain traction to compete with global peers in the same scale. Why? Because we are regulated country to country. Many good reasons for this, maybe some others not so much, but anyhow, you're regulated country to country. With Fidor Bank, we only could grow into Germany. Now, Germany, take this example, as a retail banking market, is the least innovation open, one of the highest regulated ones, and one of the markets with the lowest contribution margin from your customer sector retail. Impossible to compete. And this is just one example, but take it for many. So this is something we have to speak about. We have to speak about how to streamline regulation, how to make regulation an enabler for startups or innovative technologies and solutions, how to create sustainability for a European financial services industry in this squeezed block situation. Just one of them. Now, and GFTN helps me with this. Now, first of all, I would need to say GFTN and Nordic Fintech together as a team. Yes, we definitely help you with that because we in our, let me say, in our forum, is this a pointer? No, it's not a pointer. Learning by doing. So within GFTN now is not only that we have events within our forums, actually, of course, we bring together these various ecosystem partners so that we can create this sense of urgency. GFTN in future will be offering advisory. Besides that, we are having and holding our own digital platforms that create solutions on the one side, but also then in future there will be a capital and investment arm coming with that. So it's a very holistic, more or less like a one-stop solution for this sector. And now speaking about also then what to do with our friends from the Nordic. So first of all, our friends from the Nordic came to Munich and we had a nice evening there and we spoke about what we can do together content-wise for the upcoming Nordic Fintech Week in September in Copenhagen, and we spoke about that we definitely should have some Bavarian beer there, right? So yeah. So a friend of my boarding school actually owns a brewery, and I can tell you he is willing to deliver beer to Copenhagen and Bavarian beer, and he will show up in lederhosen, and we will do a real ceremony. Why is that needed? Because Nordic Fintech Week is in parallel to the Munich Oktoberfest. You know, how can you do this, right? So, no, joking aside. Now, of course, you know, I would say our GFTN strength is very much that we focus on the regulatory, on the public sector content and part and speakers. This is definitely what we will try to deliver also to the Copenhagen week then. Besides that, we will clearly support our friends here to deliver as many as needed and requested international speakers. Why do I think this is very helpful? Because we need to kind of get out of our comfort zone, out of our box. We need to have a very critical and very maybe helpful outside-in view to the burning topics we're gonna discuss there. And that's about it. So collaborating for a stronger and unified future, in particular in the very, very critical situation Europe now is after all this most recent geopolitical developments. And I can tell you that we, GFTN, are absolutely committed to pay into this and support you in any means. Thank you so much. I sit down.
Thank you so much, Matthias. And we, as Matthias said here, we're super stoked about this collaboration because I think this brings the platform and the right conversations into the Nordic ecosystem also and takes it to a whole nother level, which we're super proud of. I was about to say that I will now welcome a fellow German, but that's not really. But Lorenz, I met the first time, I think it was actually Simon from Copenhagen Fintech that met Lorenz the first time at DTU. A new startup coming from right out of university, moving into the Copenhagen Fintech Lab. and then participating in the Nordic Fintech Week in 2024. And then I don't think I should reveal anything more, because then out of excitement I probably already will say too much. So I will leave the stage to you, Lorenz, and tell your story, and as much as you can tell about your future endeavors. Take it away.
All right. Yeah, that's me on the right. I'm Lorenz. Actually, I'm also coming here from Munich. So I Munich in the house. I studied at TU Munich, and I did a double degree with DTU. So that's how I ended up here in the wonderful Copenhagen, and I'm here to stay, whether you like it or not. And yeah, I'm the CEO and co-founder of DeWa. We are unlocking the next generation of digital identity. It says digio, forget about that, it's digital. And why do we do that? So I believe that identity is a human right. It is who we are. It's not just a set of physical features like my height and my eye color and how I look like. It's also a set of really who we are, the personal relationships that we have, how we behave. And identity actually is quite a difficult concept to understand, and a quite complex concept. And we as humans, over the thousands of years, we've been developing methods of identifying ourselves very good in the physical world. With the kings at one point, you got a stamp, you're a citizen or a slave or whoever you are of this king. And from there, we iterated over generations and generations of identifying ourselves until now we're at the peak. We have our passport that has an NFC chip inside, and it has a lot of information that can be used to identify ourselves. Also, humans are very good to identify people in the physical space. We've been trained at this, and it's a strength from evolution. So the digital identity is a new concept that arrived with the internet, and we've been very slacky with it. Starting with username and password, we go to more complex things. But actually, right now, every third European citizen is getting attacked on their experiencing attacks on their digital identity every year. And this is very frustrating to see when you're in this space. Yeah, it's quite crazy if you think about the physical world. If someone tried to steal your physical identity, every third, that would be kind of this section. It's unthinkable, and it's happening in the digital space. So we need to change that. And what is changing that? It's digital identity wallets. So this is the next generation of digital identity. A digital twin on your phone that you can use to identify yourself. And the EU, why the EU? I'll explain in a minute. We're adding also the payment functionality to it. So it's really one place. With Thomas recently, I spoke about the Chinese super wallets, WeChat, an app that you can do everything with. This is kind of the vision where we're going, but starting at small steps. Yeah, we're the only and the first and only startup that has been certified by the European Commission on the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, and that can provide this wallet. So that's something we are quite proud about, and makes us unique here in Denmark. Yeah, so once you have these digital identities on your wallet, you can do many cool things with it. You can identify to banks, that's what's making us a fintech, both the payment but also the identification part. So if you want to open a bank account, imagine you have your passport, all different sets of data that is necessary to open up a bank account. You have securely stored in one place, and you just need to securely transmit that to the bank to verify that. So we have bank account openings, mid-ID. In Denmark, we have mid-ID. You probably all know that. It's kind of the next step that's coming is the wallets. And then you can also, as I already mentioned, pay with this. Why is this possible? You know, this is a RegTech and GovTech and FinTech startup. There's an EU regulation called eIDAS 2.0, and it mandates all countries, all EU member states to issue at least one of these wallets, because the EU realized, maybe we should set up our own digital identity infrastructure using Apple and Google for everything is maybe not the best idea. And this is also very good for us because the Apple wallet and the Google wallet is probably the wallets that we compete against the most. But as the EU doesn't want Apple and Google and whatever American wallet providers there are, they don't want them to have our digital identities, so every country needs to do one themselves. So the goal, as I mentioned in the beginning, is to solve this identity security issue and also enable citizens to access digital services in a streamlined way. So the idea is that you can use your digital identity wallet in every European member state, no matter where you go. So in case you move to Spain, you can use your wallet that you have out of Germany or Denmark and access digital services, public, but also private. The market is a new market, so it's very new, opening up with all European citizens, 500 million users. So that's a pretty cool opportunity, if you ask me, to dive into that. Yeah, so what are we going to do this year? We're going to put, or this is also the closing the full circle with Copenhagen Fintech Week, Nordic Fintech Week in Copenhagen Fintech. We really, if a company could have a baby, then we would probably be the baby of Copenhagen Fintech. We've been through all of the steps, the incubation program, the new Nordic Fintech Challengers program, and then last year in September, the Nordic Fintech Week happened, and Thomas was so nice to invite me to participate in a panel discussion together with Thomas, who's also here today. And we already had a pretty good FinTech week, and it was literally the last panel discussion of the whole week. And probably I was also the youngest participant, so I was actually quite nervous to go up there. And then afterwards, very cool corporate approached us and said, "Hey guys, we should talk." And this corporate, I tried to get legal confirmation today, but there's a few more contracts to be signed. They have a very large reach in Denmark and also the Nordics, and they will enable us to put DeWa into the pockets of every Danish citizen in Q1 this year. So that was quite cool, I would say. It wouldn't have happened without the FinTech Week. I like the saying to be at the right place at the right time. I think that was exactly this for us, but also for many other startups and companies that go to Nordic Fintech Week. The only requirement is to be there. You know, you can't be at the right place at the right time if you're not there. So go to FinTech Week this year. Yeah. Just a bit of background. I'm Lorenz, second-time founder. I found it actually quite cool, Matthias, that you said that we need social media in Europe. That's exactly what I thought 4 years ago when I founded a startup called Ivana. It was a democratized social media platform that combines all of this functionality that we know from X and Facebook and Instagram in one. But the VCs in Germany said to me, yeah, but we got the American one. So they didn't see it as critical infrastructure, and in Germany you bounce against walls and you bounce and bounce, and that's something that I did not find here at all. That's why I love Copenhagen Fintech and also the Nordics so much, that we are here and we are risk and chance takers. And yeah, just a little side note because you mentioned social media. Then we got our lovely Thomas. He's a real tech genius. If you ask me, he's responsible for all the EU certifications and all the cool stuff that I can talk about then. And we have a board, a mentor also very close to us from Copenhagen Fintech. And then we have these partners, DTU, Copenhagen Fintech, Tenity, and the secret one that I can't expose. Sadly, I tried, but it would make a lot of sense if you knew who it was. Yeah, I mean, that's it from my side. Thank you.
An absolutely amazing story, and I think it only builds up the FOMO, Lorenz, not being able to tell who it is. But just dropping the bomb that you will now very soon have a DeWa wallet on your phone installed. Every Danes will have a DeWa wallet installed on the phone. And what an amazing thing it is to... When did you come out of university and DTU? Was that 2 years ago?
University.
You're still in university, in the University of Life. No, but that is like even more amazing that forming a company in so little time and then soon to be on every phone in Denmark and bringing digital identity. I think we take for granted in Denmark, and that's why I think it hadn't maybe gotten so much attention as it should. This piece of regulation, because this is in many ways gonna be a game changer also in Denmark. But I think it's an area that hasn't gotten enough attention, but hopefully soon will. So thank you so much for that, Lorenz. And with that, I will leave the floor and the scene here to Jakob from SpeakerBee that actually have been so kind to lend us and host this kickoff event today. And Jakob will walk you through a little bit some of the opportunities you will have, because we decided also in order to, now heard from Chris and Matthias, Lorenz, and we have so many amazing partners that want to amplify some of the cool stuff they're doing and what is happening in the world. And in order to do that, you need a setup like this. And therefore, Jakob, if you would be so kind as to take your stage, it is actually your stage, and then walk us through a little bit of what it is you're doing and the amazing things you can do.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, welcome to SpeakerBee Studios. I hope you're enjoying yourself. So I'm going to talk a bit about the how. How are we going to help you out with these media opportunities? So first of all, who are we here at the SpeakerBee? I think usually I explain this by saying that we are a media production company. We do video production, live streaming for all sorts of companies like yourselves. Actually, I saw a few familiar companies on the attendee list. Sydbank, Danske Bank, a lot of financial institutions, insurance companies, accounting firms, all sorts of different companies. But that's not who we are. That's what we do. That's not who we are. I think the easiest way to explain who we are is by saying that we are nerds. We're just a bunch of tech nerds who love playing around with camera equipment, editing techniques, always just innovating new ways of creating good video content. And so to be a bit more specific, what we actually do, one of the things that we're very proud of and we do a lot of is called virtual production. Some of you might be thinking, what the is virtual production? I'll explain that to you. So virtual production always starts with a design. Now this is taken directly from a case we did not that long ago for the Metro company. So we take a design that could be a logo, colors, pictures, references, whatever, and we take that design and we turn that into a virtual world. So these pictures to the right are from a virtual metro station, a metro station that doesn't exist yet. It's only in 3D. And then we do a recording or a live stream from our green screen studio just down the hall. And then with some magic, we slowly remove the background and then we can actually live stream from the metro station. It doesn't have to be a metro, obviously. Doesn't make a lot of sense for all you guys. It can be anything. As you see here, a lot of different opportunities. Besides virtual production, we also do video production. I think everyone knows what video production means. To us, it means everything from a masterclass, e-learning, testimonials, event videos, and commercial videos. And just to give you a bit more insight on what virtual production is a tool to do video and live streaming. So actually, the commercial you see bottom right was actually done in a green screen as well. So Nicholas, if you can play the video. As you can see, it's recording in green screen. We remove everything that's green. We put the content on the monitor, and we slowly build the environment around her. So that gives us a lot of flexibility in actually building whatever makes sense to tell a story or a message to the audience that Nordic Fintech Week have. Besides video and virtual production, we also do live streaming, a lot of live streaming. And to us, live streaming is webinars, conferences, town halls, award shows, or hybrid events like what we're live streaming right now. But the common thing here is the quality. Live streaming doesn't have to just be a boring Teams meeting. No one can hear each other. Everything goes tits up. It can be a bit better. So that's kind of our goal here, is to increase the quality of what with video and live streaming, for that matter. So that's a bit about what we do: virtual production, video production, live stream, and I think you'll find that in the media packages, all of these things are actually represented. But I want to add one more thing that I think is something unique that we can bring to the table here, is our global network of studios. So right now we are obviously in Copenhagen. That's our HQ, but that's not the only studio we manage and partner with. In fact, we do have studios basically all over the world that we can use. So a lot in Europe, obviously. We have some in the US and a few in Australia and Asia. And this is how it looks right now, but the network is constantly expanding. So pretty soon we expect it to add a few more in the US, add a few more in Europe and Asia. Now, what does this mean? The cool thing here is if you have a partner or a speaker that you want to interview, that guy is in Singapore and you're here in Copenhagen. Instead of spending days and a lot of resources to travel to the same city, you can just hop into each of your own studios. And if it's a green screen studio, we can actually make it seem like you're standing in the same room. So you're going to save a lot of time and resources on transportation here. So that's a bit about who we are at SpeakerBee. I'd love to give some of you a tour of the facilities, see the studios, the master control room. I'm here every day. I still think it's pretty cool. So hopefully you will as well. Whoop, that was too quick. But now I will hand over to Laura in a second, actually, who can tell you a bit more about the opportunities. But before I do, we'd like to show you a short little video.
It's time for a change. We are Nordic Fintech Week, the biggest fintech conference in the Nordics, fostering community and growth for the Nordic fintech ecosystem. We drive global fintech innovation, bringing together startups, investors, and leaders to shape the future of finance. In 2025, the conference will engage over 2,500 participants from more than 50 countries across all continents. We are your opportunity to reach the right audience, and to do that, quality communication is a key. Nordic Fintech Week are proud to announce the new media partners, SpeakerBee, a media production company specializing in high-quality video communication to amplify your message globally. Through our new media packages, SpeakerBee will increase quality by creating branded 3D virtual worlds that will set your content apart. They can live stream your events and expand your reach from hundreds to thousands. This is your opportunity to reach the fintech community with the highest level of media. With SpeakerBee's global network of studios in major cities such as Singapore, London, New York, Stockholm, and Copenhagen, we can produce your content from anywhere. With our new partners, we aim to tell a story to the world. Your story. The story of Nordic Fintech. Explore our media packages and partnership opportunities here.
Thank you, Jakob, for that, and also the video before. I was just saying that it almost made my job easier, and yeah, I think it gives a good insight to what we can bring to the table and what SpeakerBee also can do. I would also like to talk a little bit about the how, and I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Laura. I'm head of global partnerships and also the commercial side of Copenhagen Fintech, but also running the lead on commercial activities for Nordic Fintech Week 2025. just to give you, sadly I don't have the time to give you an overview of all the amazing opportunities we have for you guys for Nordic Fintech Week 2025, but this is kind of an inflow. So take this as a little taste, and then come and talk with us afterwards to explore the opportunities. A little bit about Nordic Fintech Week and the audience. So 72% were actually C-level and senior management in 2024. So all the decision makers are there. As Thomas also touched upon, we have a diverse global representation. We have around 45 plus countries there. We have 37% representative from Europe. So again, we do have the global reach, so the opportunities are there. The key participant profiles. So we have the 4 elements. The startups, the innovative startups just waiting to have the dialogue and to talk. We have the investors, hopefully with deep pockets and lots of money. We have the established financial sector. So we have the banks, the insurance, the pension, and everything in between. Also some of the tech companies represented. And we have the regulators and policymakers. So what do we get when we combine that? We get the community. And that's also what it's about. We have everything under one roof. And when you get that and you have that, the magic happens. So we have the engagement, we have it on stage. If you heard Thomas, we had 100 plus sessions. We have the keynotes, we have the fireside chats, we have the panels and roundtables. All you can dream of, we basically have it. But what about off the stage? So we think about the whole tailored solution. What do you need? Maybe you need to have some client engagement. Maybe you need to have potential client engagement. So this is the opportunity to actually sit down and have a curated sessions with some of your potential clients, maybe your colleagues, maybe your management team needs to be pulled out of the office, have a sit down with some experts, maybe go around, just enjoy the spark, enjoy the community, get some inspiration, enjoy some of the speakers we have from all around the world flying in. All of that we're actually able to do as well. This is a use case. We love use cases. This is BC Financial Technologies and how they actually used Nordic Fintech Week last year. So last year they said, okay, let's do something a bit different. We want the client engagement. So they invited the CIOs from their banks, the ones whose clients with them, to a sit down, a session where they could look each other in the eye and have a good conversation. They also wanted a bit of inspiration, a bit of a kick. So they said, okay, let's do a matchmaking session. We did a long list, short list, and found the 3 right companies, the startups, who could add a little kick to the session. Then they also want some inspiration, so they had the side event in a roundtable closed off the stage, but then they walked around. They had the inspiration. They could go to an important speaker and enjoy that inspiration as well. So that way of engaging with the community is also a possibility that you have. And I think for BEC, it was quite a success. They got to engage with clients, they got to engage with their colleagues, and they got to engage with the whole community. So this is just a quick example of how it also could be done when you go to a conference. This is a way of engage with the community. Of course, there's also the visibility. Everybody loves the visibility as well. So that, of course, they also had part of the package. So for me and I think Copenhagen Fintech and the team behind Nordic Fintech Week, the message is we want to tailor the solution for you. We want to bring you value, and we want to do what's right for you and what fits your organization and your purpose. It's all about, again, engaging and finding the right solution. And this is the place to connect. If it's over a cup of coffee or a nice cupcake at Infuse stand, we can make it happen. And we'll kick it off today with a 50% discount on the tickets. It wouldn't be a kickoff, and it wouldn't be a real kickoff without some discounts. So be the first one and sign up and get your ticket for Nordic Fintech Week. We'd love to see you there. It's active until the end of January, so you have some time to gather your colleagues as well and invite them to join. And nobody is an island, I think people say. So I'm also super fortunate to have some good colleagues who's helping me. So after this, and we go for the wine and the drinks, grab a hold of us. I'll call them up to the stage in a minute, but grab a hold of us and have the dialogue on your wishes and how we can create value. And for people online, reach out. Our emails is there. Feel free to reach out. I will also send out our slide deck, so we have all the opportunities in one beautiful slide deck that you can browse through, and then we can have a dialogue afterwards. Yes, Thomas, Wasa, Marie-Louise, would you come up just to say hello to people? Again, I look forward to seeing you all at the Nordic Fintech Week and hopefully have a chat before that.
Thank you very much, Laura, for a really great presentation. It's a pleasure to be working with you and some of the core team here on Nordic Fintech Week. So my name is Wasa. I joined the team in January last year. I see a couple of familiar faces here in the audience, so it's really great to have you joining us today for a great kickoff event. So I'm leading the activities around Nordic Fintech Week, making sure that it's ending up in a great event end of September, and really much looking forward to doing this again this year.
And I'm Thomas, the less important Thomas in the company. I'm newly appointed head of marketing, started 4 days ago, so really early on the job. But of course, my task will be to make sure that everyone knows what amazing things will go on in the next version of the Nordic Fintech Week. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm Marie-Louise, and I'm the blonde version of Laura, used to say, but I'm taking care of the domestic partners, so all the Danish partners, please reach out to me. I think I've been in dialogue with most, but if I haven't, please reach out, and I think we can make some fun like we did. I think Ian is here somewhere. He was at least part of the BEC event, and we would love to do more of those specialized and tailored events to both brand you, but also to get you closer into partnerships with some of the amazing startups, like for instance DeWa. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys. And I think standing between us and some wine is only Thomas now. So here you go, Thomas.
Give them a big hand. And I will certainly not be standing between you and the wine for much longer. So just an ending remark for me. I think we talk so much about what's going to happen in September, but I think what's important for me to underline also is that this is so much more than just a conference in September. This is actually now also expanding into doing other different kind of events. Also expanding into collaborations like the one we have now with GFTN, Tenity with the Nordic New Challengers, and so on and so forth. So it's so much more than just a conference. It's a platform for global change, conversation, partnerships, and just what we of course love to do business, like like you heard with in the case of DeWa, for instance, or with the examples that Laura just told you about. So I don't know if it was totally hitting with the remark around the iPhone launch. I'm not sure we got all the way up there, but if we just took you a little bit left you a little bit with that feeling and excitement for what is coming, and also how to engage with this platform and Nordic Fintech Week and GFTN going forward. I hope then we've accomplished a big part of our mission with this event. And would love to continue the conversation. Those of you that are online, thank you so much for joining. Those of you here in the room today, we're gonna have some snacks, some wine, some drinks, and I think we're gonna close it down with that. So thank you so much for joining online. And then right after, we're just gonna introduce the different startups that are also in the room in the true spirit of Nordic Fintech Week and how we work in Copenhagen Fintech in creating those connections. So thank you so much for those of you that joined online. And then we'll continue the party for another half an hour here in person in Copenhagen. Thank you so much.